How are you going to thrive instead of just survive? Welcome today to this week's edition of, I was going to say the Marketing Happy Hour, but it's Total Health Live.
Total Health Live.
I'm going to thrive. My brain, get my brain in gear. I think it was the Ultra Beer that we talked about before we went live. Anyway, that's an inside joke we may share with you at a later date. I am Dr. Christopher Vogelmann at Dr. Vogelmann everywhere where you consume your social media. And with us, as always, is the noted nutritionalist, the one I call the nutritionist to the stars.
That's me. Hi, everyone. Hi on Friday, the October. What is it? October 8th. Yes.
It's the 8th. I see the 9th on our notes, but I realize that we're just trying to move past today as quickly as possible.
I think so. And we can share the Ultra Beer thing.
Yes. Yeah. So we talked about, years ago, we were in, what was it? We were certified with Health Coach Systems International, and they had a big event. What was the one in Loveland, Colorado? Or was it Loveland or one of the other ones? Anyway, we used to do a lot of work in functional medicine with a product from Jeff Bland called Ultra Clear. And so we started talking about Ultra Beer. So instead of a detoxification program, it would be Ultra Beer would be the ultimate detox drink.
Detox. Yeah, that was hilarious.
It was hilarious at the time, and it still makes us chuckle. So
yeah, we almost forgot it. And then what we also talked about eggnog, because we were talking about egg allergies. Actually, that's what started this whole conversation.
It's true.
We were talking about egg allergies and how common they are. So, even though egg is a perfect protein, it's still, if you have too much of it, it can cause not necessarily an allergic response, but some food sensitivity.
Just like if you have too much coffee.
Too much back to the grind. Well, I gave up the grind on Monday until I tell you it was a little bit of a headache at the end of the day, but I survived. And I do this occasionally. I give up coffee, and once you make the decision, it's like, it's not in your purview and you're not thinking about it. And thank goodness nobody around me is drinking coffee, so I don't smell the coffee and want to have it. I do enjoy my morning cup. I do.
Do you wake up and smell the coffee?
Well, not now, but
not right now.
I do.
In days gone by.
Yes. Days gone by. Yeah. I mean, coffee has been very maligned. And so have eggs, actually, as being a cholesterol culprit. And of course,
allegedly,
we know it's not the case. So, but you don't want to have too many eggs, just because it could develop into a food sensitivity, even though they're so yummy. And I've been I was eating poached eggs last week, and they were so yummy. But this week, not having them. This week, I'm not having them because I'm doing a detox program, and there is it's pretty much plant-based.
Can you give up pumpkins in this detox program?
No, pumpkins are welcome.
They're welcome. All pumpkins are welcome. We have an inclusive. We are very inclusive.
Single kind of pumpkin you can imagine.
Hopefully, not a rotted pumpkin.
No, we don't want. Well, no. They end up in the bin, and that's where they should be, or into the compost.
Compost, yes, the one you love the most. Mm-hmm. Compost,
such a good thing.
It is a good thing. So yeah. Oh, also, if you're eating too much eggnog, we refer to it as legnog because it goes straight to your thighs.
From your eyes to your thighs.
So you be wise to not overindulge in legnog.
Yes, so we're kind of early. We'll mention it again in a couple of months when Christmas rolls around, the holidays roll around. But yes, legnog from your eyes to your thighs. So don't drink too much of that when the holidays roll around.
Or you may cries. It's pretty bad. Hey, so we're talking today. We're going back to a few things you were mentioning here earlier in notes that we had shared, that whether Delta is down, is it over now? And there was an interesting article that I was reading in the wee hours this morning from Vox, I think, and it was gathering CDC data and Johns Hopkins and everything else, and the predictive modeling of how COVID-19 would do, particularly in the Delta variant. And it went from everywhere from, by February 2022, if things are going well, like we think they are, and maybe even kids get vaccinated from 5 to 11, we could see as few as 95 people dying a day from COVID. But if things didn't go well, we'd be in a situation where we were back up to maybe 650 or thereabouts. So there's a range depending upon people's behavior over the holidays. So,
And isn't that interesting?
yeah.
95 as opposed to 600.
Well,
What
that's
about
based.
the
It's based
95?
on. It's
What
based on.
about the 95? We seem to have gotten sort of cold about even 95 is too many. Even
That's
one
a
is
lot
too
of people.
many.
Hey,
One
we
is
had.
too many.
Yeah, because my wife's side of the family had 3 doctors die of COVID,
Yeah,
and so
one is too
that was
many.
that was 3 too many, in my opinion. So
Yeah, it's we don't want to normalize that as
no.
being it's okay.
But it's
Yeah.
interesting. So you're going from maybe 3,000 a day dying, potentially to in the 2,000s or so. The challenge is we see this peak coming up. We've seen multiple peaks, and this is the latest surge, if you will. Now things are dropping off a bit, but the question remains, as people get closed up in colder weather and stay huddled up closer together, particularly even in the states where the vaccination numbers are much lower, how much spread will there be, particularly with Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and all the other holidays? So it remains to be seen, but I have a sense that things will be easing off in the spring of next year, but I'm a little uncertain. My personal opinion is I'm a little uncertain of how the holidays are going to go this year. So
Well, I read this New York Times article about the COVID fable, and
is
they
it?
were like,
Yeah.
I don't want to really like, I don't want us to be comfortable with the statistics because that is sort of dehumanizing in many
Yeah.
ways. But it talks about this cycle and how it was predicted that we'd have these surges, and the surge didn't happen when kids went to school
Well,
and
actually, in certain states, it is happening with kids to school. So,
well, this
like
is
in
daily
Georgia and other
COVID
places.
cases in the US.
Yeah.
September 1st, 166. I'm sorry, I have to give you some numbers, but
But that's the. But you do have to note that there are regional differences, and when you look at
yes,
national
no, but this
data,
is this is this is national, right? So it was 166 and October 6th. So that was September 1st, 166,000. October 6th was 101,000. These were just cases. And again, cases are okay. It's the deaths that we
yeah,
and the
it's
sickness that we want to
Yeah,
avoid.
it's hospitalizations. I mean, cases is one thing because you have a lot of breakthrough, and well, it's not a lot, but you have breakthrough infections in people who have been vaccinated, and if they are vaccinated and they have a breakthrough infection, the symptoms tend to be relatively mild, and there are far fewer hospitalizations. And so it's the overcrowding in hospitals that seems to be the greatest concern right now amongst public health officials. So
Yeah, and I know in Alaska they're having an issue, but this article goes on to how the public is actually so immersed in the drama of it all because we're used to the drama of it all. We're used to drama, whether it's TV or or film and television. Yeah, where's the drama? The drama is now he's gone. Oh, there he is.
I know I was looking for my. I had a
Creating
copy of.
drama right there.
I had a copy of Harvard Magazine, and it was a great article, and the cover shows it's a beige cover with a large coronavirus uh, on top, and it talks about surviving this pandemic and the next.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
So again, this article talks about how he's equating it with sporting events because it's always unknown. And yet it's so engrossing, the unknown is engrossing, just like this pandemic is engrossing because you don't know. I mean, it's like the drama of it all.
well, it's like people go to horror movies to be scared because of the unknown will provide you with a degree of surprise and fright as opposed to surprise and delight, unless you're
I mean,
delighted by being scared. So
yeah, we're almost geared psychologically to behaviorally to be
we're geared.
doing
We're
that way.
geared to be scared.
Geared to be scared. You betcha.
You
You
betcha,
betcha.
man. Oh
So,
yeah.
but yeah, so I read that the county supervisor or the health official supervisor here in LA County
Hmm.
is sort of banding about the idea of perhaps masks will be a thing of the past sooner than later. That's, again, I hear one report, the next day it's the complete opposite. So it's like,
And we do have to account for regional differences. In fact, right now, California is still the best state in the union in terms of tamping down infections and all. But there are still, it's interesting to
well,
see
I'm
the
just
regional
talking about
differences.
LA County right
Yeah.
now.
So
Yeah.
county by county is interesting because when you get into the Imperial Valley, you get into some eastern
Yeah.
or northeastern counties, they still have some significant rates of infection and a little bit of overwhelm in the hospital system,
Yeah.
but not to the point where you have 110% occupancy of ICU beds. So
Yeah, no, they are still struggling up in the central. I think it was the Central Valley as well.
hmm
So
yeah.
yeah, it's very tricky, very tricky.
So let me go in terms of tricks and things. I mean,
Mhm.
there are variants. The Gamma variant is the one that just flew through Brazil. That's an interesting one right there.
Flew in and out and gone.
No, it's still around, but it's not the dominant. Delta is still dominant in the US. It's like
Mhm.
95, 97% Delta.
Mhm.
So Delta is ready when you are.
Ready to
Yeah,
fly.
what
Fly
yeah,
away, Delta, fly away.
we've already heard about we've touched a little bit on the idea of the holidays and what they're going to look like this year. So what do you think? I think people are just going to go wild and they're not going to mask up at Thanksgiving, that's for sure.
Well, I think it's going to be a little bit of both. I mean, it depends where you are.
Mm.
Certainly if can't remember her name, but she's the director of health in this county, Barbara. Anyway, certainly if she says no masks, it'll be sort of freeing, I guess. It'll be
I'll
free
have a no mask Thanksgiving
this
with
year.
you. With
This
you.
year. um,
Uh,
yeah, I mean, I think we've gotten so afraid and so cautious. I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people have. So our whole patterns and our whole behaviors have maybe changed for a long time. Like,
well,
as
and
long as
yeah, you're right. And it all boils down to human behavior. I mean, how are people going to behave? Are we still going to be extra cautious, or are we going to be in a situation where people just throw caution to the wind, and then we start seeing spikes and stuff? I mean, just have to. I mean, I was going to say you have to use common sense, but common sense is not terribly common. So
and it boils down to the individual,
yeah,
the person, what are you more likely to do? Um,
I
so
go
we'll
back to
see.
the biblical phrase that I was drummed into my head as a child, which is "I am my brother's keeper." And so the question is, do you do things individually without the thought of others, or do you take others into account? So
Like
that's
the Amish.
yeah, yeah. Let's raise a barn while we're at it. So
Guys,
so
yeah.
I do believe though that New Year's Eve 2022 is going to be a lot more hopeful than New Year's Eve 2021. So
Well, last year was really, really bad.
yeah,
I remember New Year's Eve, or yeah, in the morning of New Year's Eve, lining up to get a COVID test for my husband,
yeah,
and there was a huge line,
yeah, yeah.
and we had to wait. It took like the whole process took 3 hours, and he was sitting in the car. But yeah, so
There
hopefully nothing like that.
Yeah, there are several tens. I think it's $80 billion are being allocated through the current administration for at-home tests that cost about
Yeah.
$70 a
And,
piece.
and this is interesting because they're not available here, and they are available in many countries, in the
Yeah,
UK and Germany and in other countries. They're like very available, and here you
hmm
can't get them. They're
yeah,
antibody tests, not the PCR tests.
right. And,
So that would be really helpful because
yep,
you can get no right away.
yep. It's a great thing. And then we touched briefly on the subject of mandates. Mandates seem to be coming about for different government agencies and others, and some folks are suing over mandates. There
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
6 police officers, was it in LA County or someplace, who were suing against it, saying they've already had the COVID infection, therefore they are immune, they have full immunity. The only problem is that, that immunity from an infection seems to wear out anywhere between, say, 4 to 6 months, or as long as maybe 10 months, depending on which studies you look at and what populations. So
Well, I know in care homes, it's, mandated now
Yeah.
to come in, and so that's definitely
I mean,
hospitals for sure.
what is curious to me is, the parents and others, who are so concerned about, not having their children vaccinated. These are, many of them are the same people who never questions the measles, mumps, rubella, polio, and all the other vaccines that are required in many public school districts. So
I, no,
it's a very interesting thing.
I disagree because a lot of people are anti MMR vaccines, and there's they have fought that for years and years as being contributing to autism, and so that is, I think that many are the same people and many are even more now because the vaccine didn't go through the regular channels that other vaccines have gone through, and it
And
was
yet, and
very.
yet, and yet, the Pfizer vaccine has gone through eventually all those channels. We'll probably see Moderna come out very quickly, and the same thing with J&J. It's a matter of weeks. It's not a matter of years. So.
Well, no, I mean, they didn't go through the trials, the rigorous trials that most medication and most drugs go through. So that is one of the biggest concerns that.
I used to be concerned about certain things like Vioxx. Vioxx had a population of, I think it was tested on a population of under 40,000 people in their clinical trials. And when they finally released it to the general population, and when it started getting 4 million, 10 million, 12 million people, that's when they started seeing all the side effects. So just because something
Yeah,
has gone through
yeah.
the FDA approval process doesn't mean that it's actually going to be super safe. I mean, you'd like to believe that to be the
Yeah,
case.
I mean, that is something that people need and not be afraid to discuss because it's happening, and it is happening. So, and it's good to share it because we want to make things better. I mean, for future iterations, I don't know if they're going to
I think it's
get it
good
better.
it's good to share as long as we don't mostly scare people. And because I think that what's interesting is the number of people who actually, some of them are here close to where we live, who have been going on and on about, how masks are no good, this and that, and you don't want the vaccine, and others, and they change their tune when they're on a ventilator in the ICU.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean, sometimes it's scary. Some of these medications are scary. I mean, look at the list of most medications. We've talked about this in previous broadcasts about the lists of all the side effects of most medications. So there ought to be a list like that, but there won't be because it's an emergency. It has been an emergency delivery of these vaccines.
but you
So
do, when you look at other countries, though, who have not had delivery of vaccines, or very few have been vaccinated, you do see some significant issues with hospitalization, overcrowding, and deaths. And and then you get into the whole notion of traveling. When you
well,
by air, where you have to have a vaccine or proof of a recent test that you've tested negative in order to fly abroad or come into the U.S. for that matter. So.
right. I mean, it's definitely. I mean, all of what you said is absolutely correct, but also, there are side effects for many, and they're not
Well, I
very
think,
good.
but many, please define many as a percentage so that we can clarify
Well,
for our
many
viewers.
more than are reported, or many more than are heated or paid attention to. So I'm not saying half the population, half of the people who are getting vaccinated are having some. I don't know. We don't know that kind of thing because sometimes it's a delayed reaction, and we don't know that either. So I'm just saying, be open to other views, and not necessarily conspiracies, but other views, and people that may have some issues with the vaccine. And again, it's always a cost benefit, right? That's what we've discussed, the cost benefit. You want to have the side effects, or do you want to be hospitalized, right?
Hmm.
So
Well, and as a cost benefit too, if your work or your municipality or whatever is requiring that you be vaccinated, you can, in terms of cost benefit, you can choose to take a different job. I mean,
Yeah,
any employer actually has the right to set up the qualifications and the requirements for their employees.
and that's what's happening with a lot of nurses, unfortunately,
Mhm.
because we need nurses and we need, people in the care, certified nursing assistants and people who are working to help, not people only in the hospitals, but also in facilities and at home with home care. So,
But
yeah,
this is the one that really concerns me, because if you have a nurse who refuses to get vaccinated, or it may be somebody in an elder care institution or so, and they wind up getting COVID, not being tested, and inadvertently infect maybe 5 to 10 to 12 other people, is the hospital then at
liable.
risk? Are they liable for this because they did not require them to either be vaccinated or tested?
Well, that's probably why they're mandating it.
Yeah,
They
because employers are that way too. They don't want a wrongful death suit on their hands. So, and I think that's where it gets into, do you want to lose your business to a wrongful death suit? And people are like, no, I do not want to do that. So, but there are opportunities for people. Nobody says that you absolutely have to work in a particular hospital if they're going to require you to have a vaccination or so.
And this whole
Um,
idea of exemption as well, if people have a condition that exempts
Yeah,
them
which
from
is fine. If you've got an autoimmune condition, or you've got something that, let's say that you have a transplant and you're taking immunosuppressive drugs. Well, of course, you're going to be a person for whom this might not be a great idea. But of course, neither is catching COVID-19 if you're
well, I
immunosuppressed.
don't know. My brother-in-law had a transplant, and he was on immunosuppressive drugs, and also he received the vaccine. So the vaccine has been given for many critically ill
Yeah,
people. And
it's definitely case by case basis, that's for sure. And the religious exemption one is really funny, because all of a sudden, lots of people have suddenly gotten religious.
religious, they
Yeah.
found God. Yeah.
They found God. Oh, I have to apparently close the door here. Hold on. Keep going. Keep going.
Going well. What else can I say about that? It's just a very tricky situation. I mean, the whole thing has been very hard to navigate, and I guess everyone's just doing the best we can.
Yeah.
So that's the COVID news for this week, right? Are we?
Wow, that's like 20 minutes of COVID news and 2 minutes of ultra beer, the ultimate detox drink.
Okay,
So
go before we do the COVID news.
moving on to the
Questions.
Iowa.
Did we have some left over from last week? I
We
think we
did,
did.
and oh gosh darn it, now I got to go back and find them. Well, hang on a second. Well, let's address first. Let's
go to
address
Iowa.
Diana
Let's go to
from
Iowa.
Cedar Rapids, where apparently the cedars are very rapid there. I've changed my eating habits to more of a vegetarian eating plan, but I've got a lot of gas and bloating. Should I not eat as many vegetables as I used to? Wait a minute. Should I not eat as many vegetables as I used to? Should I eat, I guess, fewer vegetables is what she's asking. I want to be more plant-based, but what can I do? So no, she's added a lot of vegetables. She's got a lot of gas and bloating, and the question is, should she go back to the lower proportion of vegetables to solve this problem?
I would say continue eating the vegetables, and maybe you need some digestive enzymes to help you digest some of the fiber in those vegetables. But yeah, stick with the vegetables. They're good for you. They're your best friends.
Well, not if you eat them, then they're.
No, they're your best friends, because then they become part of you.
Oh, they become part of, and you're never alone.
And you're never alone. They were like an integral part of you. So
They are
yeah.
integral.
Yeah, don't stop eating the vegetables, because I mean, most people don't eat. They eat a fraction of what would be a good portion, because it's really what is it? 6 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables per day, which maybe 1 or 2 fruit, and the rest should be vegetables. So that's like 1 cup of each vegetable.
It's a lot of cups.
It's a lot of vegetables. Yeah.
It's a lot of cups. I was trying to find our question last time around. I mean, another thing, it could be the types of things that you're consuming. For example, if you're classifying beans, for example, as vegetables, you may want to ease off of those. And if there's a particular vegetable that seems to cause more gas and bloating, maybe reduce that particular quantity and then make up for it with other vegetables.
Yeah, just know that beans aren't vegetables. They are not. Green
Yes.
beans, yes, but not beans. And what can help you if you are, asking about like a more plant-based diet in general, and you're probably bringing in beans and rice. So you want to wash and soak them overnight. That might help some of the, the problems with beans. Soak them overnight in water and then cook them, and you might see that your issue might resolve. Also, some probiotics might help too. So maybe it's an imbalance in some of your microorganisms as well, but usually it's the additional fiber, and oftentimes maybe your body isn't used to this kind of eating, so so give yourself some time to adapt and try some of these other suggestions we just gave you.
I'm looking at the questions from last week. We had Annie from Lexington, Kentucky, Alejandro from Laguna Niguel, Deborah from Tulsa. I remember that. We think we had Ray from Merced, California, but then the question is, I think we had two last ones. There was Jill from Topeka and Nicole
Oh
from
yeah,
Philadelphia.
Jill. Why don't we
Jill,
answer the
what a
question,
what
Jill?
a thrill to be with Jill. So Jill says, I love soups, and I find when I make soups, my eating and weight get much better. Funny, huh?
Mhm.
I guess I see that cooking and making soups specifically gives me a strong feeling of self-nurturing. What do you say?
That's good. I have a
Self-nurturing?
niece named Jill.
Tummy
Um,
nurturing?
yeah, no, I mean, just the warmth of the soup and the care in preparing the soup and, all of that. Yes, self-nurturing and self-nourishment. Yeah, I mean, soups are fantastic. Wouldn't you agree, Christopher?
Soup is good food.
Soup is good food. I made some zucchini soup yesterday, and I'm making some mung bean soup today.
Was it an itsy bitsy teeny weeny
Zucchini? No, it was a
zucchini?
big pot
No.
of zucchini, and there were
Okay.
4 big zucchinis, and so
Big zucchinis.
yummy. And I'm gonna have some when we get off this broadcast today, and I'm looking forward to that.
Where do you
I
get off?
sprinkle some sunflower seeds on top as well, so
Because a
nice.
sprinkle a day keeps odor away. No, that's the wrong thing.
A
Sorry.
sprinkle a day
A sprinkle.
helps us pave the way, helps us pave the
Pave
way.
the way for your
Um,
better
yeah,
brain.
so soups and yes, you're probably taking more time because soups require all this preparation. So you're being more aware and more conscious of what you're eating. So that's probably helping you with your health and your weight and just the act of preparing it is just nurturing in and of itself. Not only just not only the eating of it, but the preparation and the shopping for the foods and the planning in your brain about what you want to put. Like I'm going to make mung bean soup when I sometime this afternoon, and I'm probably going to put some butternut squash in it. I'm probably going to add some more zucchini because I have so much zucchini. I'm going to put some spinach and some other greens. I have chard and kale, and I'm going to put that in there. And yeah, so that was another thing about the question about the vegetables. If you're eating raw vegetables, you'll tend to have more problems with the bloating and gas. So cooked vegetables, you'll have less of that.
Cook them up, but don't cook them to death. Like my grandmother, sometimes we had gray looking green beans.
Well, yeah, I think that's how they cooked in those days. It was like
Yep.
they were soggy and there was no flavor left because it's all in the water.
It was in the water.
It was
So
in the
one of
water.
my father's mentors and mine as well used to say, when you're boiling vegetables, you drink the water as soup.
Yeah.
That was a very good recommendation.
Yeah, or just drink it like a tea. I
Yeah,
do that with
same thing.
avocado, and I do that with the other beets are really good, really great for the liver. Beet juice, the actual water when you're cooking the beets. So, or you can use it in your cooking. You can use that water in your cooking. So you can save
That's
it.
true.
Yeah.
Like a stock. I've seen
Yeah,
that
like a
used many
stock.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, like a stock. Or add it back into your soup if you're, cooking vegetables for one dish and then you're cooking soup as well. So just keep it. So you don't want to throw away those nutrients because a lot of them are in the water. So yeah, if you're cooking soup, you're definitely the vegetables are going to be a little mushier and less crisp. But if you're just having steamed vegetables in a steamer, try to have them a little tender, crisp, or to your liking. Whatever you like.
So will you be pureeing the mung bean soup?
I will not. No, but I
Oh,
did puree the zucchini soup. I
okay.
did puree that, but not the mung beans because it's essentially a lentil soup.
Mm.
And so it's just really satisfying. So stick with it, Anne. Jill, stick with it.
Jill,
Was there a question in there?
what do you say was the question?
What do you say? I say, all right, Jill. Way to
What do
go.
you? What the other question was funny, huh? So
Funny could be, yeah, huh?
funny, huh? And what do you say? Sounds like something we would do to start off one of these broadcasts. So, well, we're moving on to Nicole from Philadelphia. Nicole, we're sorry it took an extra week to get to you. She says, I'm having severe muscle spasms and a bunch of
Mm.
pain, like a bunch of beets or something. I'm having
Mhm.
muscle spasm, a bunch of pain in my shoulders, ankles, and lower back. This started after my COVID shots. I had these issues before, but never all at one time. Help. What? Help what?
Kind of
Help.
what we're
What
just
can I do?
talking about, people have different symptoms, and this might be a reaction. It might have increased some inflammation in her body. So
It's possible, but I would say, this too shall pass by and large. I mean, the
yeah,
musculoskeletal
hopefully,
system, yeah. I
hopefully,
mean, I
yeah.
don't want
But
to I don't want to dismiss you, Nicole, but I mean, it's one of those things where any sort of an inflammatory condition, and we know that COVID-19 tends to be inflammatory as well as when you think about the protein that's in the spike from which this comes, the mRNA comes, that is going to provoke a reaction, potentially an inflammatory reaction, because after all healing is inflammatory. You could, when you're wounded, let's say that you have a problem with your knee and you sprained it, or so you put ice on it, but you don't put ice on it every single day for 2 or 3 weeks because that will actually inhibit the healing process. So I would just check with your doctor, check with the person who gave you this series of shots, and maybe they have some more information for you. Because
well, the shots are usually pharmacists or other places. It's not really the physician.
well, some of us here have had them from physicians and nurses. So
Oh, I had it from a pharmacist at CVS.
we live
So
well. CVS are my initials spelled sideways. So I'm CSV as opposed to CVS. That confused me a lot when I was a kid.
I'm sure.
Um, I would just look up and say, "Why are my initials there?" and then the wrong sequence.
Well, so interesting. You grew up with CVS. We didn't grow up with, well, I didn't grow up with CVS in Canada. And certainly on the West Coast, CVS was not,
It,
uh, I think it's like probably 15 years in
it,
this part
it
of the
was
world.
it was back east. I
Yeah,
can tell you
sure.
because I remember at the West Seneca Mall looking up after being in a movie. I think it was 2001: A Space Odyssey. I look up there and I see the lights with my initials up there, and so I just thought
Sorry,
it was on.
as we meander, let's get back to the question.
Why? Why? You're
Why?
reminiscing. I'm feeling very nostalgic today. But I'm not nostalgic about shoulder, ankle, and lower back pain, of which I've had all of these.
Me too. Me too.
But I have not experienced it from a COVID vaccination. So that's all I
So
can tell you.
you want to, ice as Christopher had mentioned, but not over ice, and maybe heat would be good, right?
I mean, it
Somebody,
can be good, yeah, because in and of itself, those joints, they need some circulation. And I don't know if you've stopped exercising. If you had, that's going to be a challenge for you as well. So,
but
um,
also magnesium. You said muscle spasms. I think
yeah,
magnesium would
muscle
help.
spasm, magnesium, glycinate, any sort of a chelated or chelated, depending on your
Uh-huh.
potato point of view, magnesium, anything, even calcium too. Think about the CalMag that's available in a powdered form. You can take that or so. That'll ease some of the pains. And of course, one of my favorites in our household here from an Ayurvedic practitioner in Mexico, of course, is that anti-inflammatory tea that you'll find the recipe for it on the Mama Maggie's Kitchen blog.
I just brought some golden milk powder, which is a
Turmeric.
turmeric and ginger, I believe, and some other
Yeah.
things when you heat it in almond milk. So I'm looking forward to having that today, and that'll be fun. That'll be good.
You do that. Now, let's go down to the great state of Florida.
Hold it. I'm not finished
What?
yet.
You're not finished. I thought
So
we were finished.
also with the spasms, so magnesium, calcium, as we said, but also proteolytic enzymes help to reduce some of the inflammation as well.
Away from food, because if you take them with food, they'll just digest your food.
Yeah, so it has to be proteolytic, not just regular enzymes, but proteolytic enzymes.
It's the enzymes that are it's the enzymes that specifically digest protein.
Protease is what you want to look for. Protease, which is the enzyme for digesting protein. And
I am, by the way, protease as opposed to anti-TAse, just to let you know.
And so also, if you're not in blood pressure medication, you could also take some potassium if you've got some spasming as well, or some cramping. So that sort of covers it. Vitamin C also helps with the healing of those the inflammation that you're experiencing. So hope that helps. And also an anti-inflammatory diet, which includes primarily plant-based food and
lots of zucchini. Lots of
zucchini and bean, lentil soups and things like what we've been talking about. There's a perfect season for that. It's fall.
So fala. So in Falalarada is Jerry from Tampa. She says, I love seafood, and lately I've been getting rashes and wondering if I'm developing an allergy to this favorite food of mine. Do you have any ideas? Well, Jerry, what kind of seafood are you eating? Are you eating shellfish, or are you eating regular fish? That may make a difference in and of itself.
This question sounds very familiar. I think we've had this question before. And so if you're developing some allergies or if sensitivities, just stop it. And then you
stop it now. Eat more beef.
Ultra beer. Have some ultra beer.
It's the ultimate detox drink.
Yeah, which means that if you drink it, you'll be detoxified.
And
it'll
make you drunk at the same time.
And toxified. So you'll be toxified and detoxified at the same time.
Detoxification has never been this fun.
Or this quick and easy in one step.
So Jerry, I mean, it depends. I mean, it could be the type of fish that you're eating too. Maybe you're eating a lot of shark, for example, or swordfish, and maybe because we do recommend that people eat fewer servings of that per week. And sometimes it could be just the type of fish. It could be that you have a thing that you're not doing well with shrimp, maybe, or with mussels. I don't know what type of seafood you're currently consuming. But you can also always get an immunoglobulin test and do an allergy test at your doctor to see if you are sensitive.
You can do that. Or you can remove it out of your diet and try one thing at a time and see if remove it for at least 3 weeks and then reintroduce and see what happens. It might be also frequency is always something that just as we were speaking about the eggs earlier. So frequency might be the issue too, if you're having it all the time.
If you're eating crawfish etouffee 5 times a week, it probably is too much.
Too much. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I would recommend.
Jerry is spelled with an I, so we're assuming Jerry is a female.
Jerry, just like a dear friend of mine.
Like Gertrude? Gertie.
Geraldine.
You mean like Flip Wilson's Geraldine?
Geraldine.
Hopefully that's helpful, Jerry. And I'm not sure we're going to get through everybody again this week, because Derek from...
We've just got so many questions. We can't go through everyone, and we appreciate all the questions. So we'll get to maybe one more?
One more. So Derek is from Missoula, Missouri, or Missoula, Montana?
Missoula, Montana, I think.
Oh, okay. It says MO here, which is it's Missouri because I lived there for 4 years. Okay, Missoula, Montana. Derek. He says, "Oh, this is an interesting one." He says, "I need to gain weight. I'm 6 feet tall and I weigh 155 pounds. I feel scrawny. What can I do to build muscle and start to feel stronger? Supplements, foods, exercise, prayer?"
All of the above.
I mentioned prayer. I think I added that to Derek's.
Prayer is good.
God, grant me more muscle.
Yeah. So, I mean, doing, resistance training is really helpful, and certainly eating more protein and, um, go ahead.
One thing though, Derek, I mean, this sounds remarkably familiar from the standpoint of, I'm 5'9", and my ideal weight is actually supposed to be 154 pounds, but I haven't seen that in a long time. So I mean, I do know of some lean athletes who are 6 feet tall and like 160, 165. You may not be as scrawny as you think you are.
Well, I guess it's your perception, but
Yeah,
maybe it's his bone structure and all sorts of things. But it sounds like he wants to gain weight,
gain
or
weight.
gain
Okay,
muscle, maybe gain
muscle.
muscle more than anything. That might make
Well,
it
he does
feel
say
like
build. He says build muscle. So
build
you can
muscle.
get
Yeah.
one of those little Lego kits where they're full of muscles and kind of build
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So you want to build this body. So again, you're going to do some resistance exercise. That's definitely going to help you. And protein. I mean, those are the two biggies
And
in
you
helping.
can build up by doing higher weights and lower reps if you're in your
Mhm.
exercise routine. So
Yeah. Yeah. Protein shakes and all sorts of things. You don't need to take steroids in order to be, healthy and strong, and build up your muscle mass. So, yeah, and also I'd recommend getting a body composition test done to see exactly what your numbers are, see what your body fat is, and your lean muscle mass. That's something.
you could already, Derek, be at a point where you're maybe 3 or 5% body fat and mostly muscle. So
Maybe,
it's
or maybe you're
possible.
just maybe, and those are things that you want to check out
Or you're
because
just what we used to call a skinny fat person.
yeah, and that happens. That I mean, models often they're skinny fat. They may have a body fat composition pretty high.
Mhm.
That's pretty high. But I think that's changed. Certainly, there's more awareness about that now. But say models like in the 60s and 70s, maybe that was more of an issue then, where they were just skinny and
Like Twiggy.
yeah, like
Twiggy.
Twiggy, like Twiggy. Yeah,
Twiggy.
we remember Twiggy.
I remember Twiggy. I don't know that I was a
So
fan of it.
yeah, so that is, I think that's it for Q&A today. What do you
That's a
think?
wrap. That's a
It's
wrap.
a wrap, and we'll have more questions and hopefully more answers for you next week.
I think, well, we do have some more questions, but we'll get to them next week. So, anyway, so if you
Good
have any
luck,
other
Ellen.
questions, oh, by the way, too, those of you who are watching on replay, and we know the vast majority of you are replay fans, please use the hashtag replay so that we get a ping from you and that we can answer also any additional questions that you may have if you drop them in under the video, or you can even send us a private message. We're still allowing people to get into the membership group, the Total Health Live group. So you can request to join at Total Health Live on the Book of Faces. And if you have any other comments or you want greater clarification, you can also send Monika a message at monika@coachingforhealth.com.
Please do. Please
She'll
do.
help you. She'll help you be calm.
I I will. I hope.
You hope to be. All right. We'll be back next week, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, and everywhere in between.
Have a good week, everyone.
Have a wonderful weekend. Bye for now.